What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Crane Kicks Lex podcast. Was with you guys last week for a quick kicks, but now we're back together again, minus Kyle. Kyle, he's pretending to be Tim the Toolman Taylor, tearing up a bunch of flooring, trying to lay new flooring, doing all kinds of craziness, being all like, "Oh, my back hurts." I don't know, complainer. That's just what Kyle is. But
You
no, we
notice
missed him.
he didn't say he had one specific problem. It was just like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm in pain. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sore. I did hard work. Okay, sure, Kyle. Yeah. So he's gone doing adult things. Didn't want to come hang out. Said he was allergic to fun right now. That's okay. We still miss him. We miss you, Kyle. I'm just teasing. Had to give you a hard time. I gave Dillon a hard time on the last quick kicks. So I promised I'd give Kyle a hard time on this one, and it worked out because Kyle's not here to defend himself,
Did
and
you
we love
think
that.
did you think you were gonna get away with it too with me? You think I
Yeah.
wasn't gonna
Oh,
watch
no,
your
I knew you'd see
content?
it. I knew you'd
Yeah.
see it.
Okay.
It's okay. I was
All
like,
right.
Dylan's gonna see this and be like, man. I had to give you guys a shout out in some form, even if it's negative. Even negative publicity's publicity. Dylan, come on. But Dylan, how you been, man?
Dude, I'm doing pretty good. Dude, I love this time of year. It's so awesome. I
Yeah.
love the apple just season. Um, it's great. I made apple pie, kind of something, a pull apart kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
delicious. I love the weather, going for walks outside. It's like nice and crisp, and the
Yeah.
leaves changing. And then we got football on, both kinds, NFL, college, and then we got soccer.
It's it's
It's
it's
just
beautiful.
it's just the
Got
best
everything
time
you'd
of
want.
year. Yeah,
It's true. Hit me with those 60-degree days every single day. Today was
absolutely.
too hot,
Yes.
man. 70 something, whatever. Get out of here. Like 70 should be max, and then we should just kind of like stay 55, 70 range. We'll be perfect. Like some hoodie weather. That's all you need. It's
Dude,
good.
I'd bite your arm off for just 60-degree weather.
Telling you, dude. Yeah, and I mean, we got beautiful fall weather, hitting up way too many orchards. I've been to like 15 orchards. It's
Yeah.
it's been insane. I mean, I've been doing everything too though, because it's like my son's birthday came around. We had fall break, so we've been hitting orchards, going to monster truck shows, like hitting up Malibu Jacks, soccer, like everything you could ever want. And I'm so tired, but it's been so fun. Especially the monster truck thing. We hit that up this weekend in Louisville, and my kids were losing their minds. It was the Hot Wheels one, and it was like the glow party. So they had all like the lights on the trucks, and they were like doing all the jumps, and then they had motocross stuff, and yeah, it was pretty sweet. But I'm excited. And then of course Halloween's coming up next week. I'm not like a huge Halloween person. I mean, I like it. I'm not mad at fun. It's cool and everything, but it is cool for my kids. I do enjoy it for them, and they're excited to dress up. We're doing like the Spider-Man thing. Everybody's gonna be a Spidey character. They voted for me to be Venom. I don't know what that says about my character. Anti-hero of the family, I guess. I don't know, but I'm psyched. And then today at work, it got me a little bit more in the mood for Halloween. They were talking about favorite candies. They were doing like a vote going around the school and having people check off which is the best Halloween candy. And it warmed my heart to see which one was winning by far. But I was still taken aback by how many people personally decided to tell me that they did not like this particular Halloween candy. So I'm going to judge you if you disagree with me here. Best Halloween candy, the Reese's Pumpkins. They load those things with like 15 times more sugar. They're so unhealthy, but they're so amazing. They're so peanut buttery, or about as peanut buttery as you can get for like whatever granular stuff they stuff inside that chocolate. It's just delicious. And it was winning by a wide margin. But then we had people coming around saying things like Kit Kat. Kit Kats are good, but like best Halloween candy, Kit Kat. And my wife said Almond Joy. Like, what a nerd. No,
Yeah.
I love her. She's going to hurt me when she listens to this now. Take it back. I'm so sorry. You're a wonderful person, and Almond Joy is the best. I regret everything. But I don't know. What would you say is the best Halloween candy? Like, if you had kids, and they came home with a giant pillowcase full of candy because everybody knows you got to do the OG pillowcase thing so you can have as much candy as possible. What
Yeah.
are you feeling out of that? What are you taking?
I'm taking all the Snickers I can. The Snickers is like my absolute favorite. So like I need as many,
Yeah,
and the fun size versions of those are like the perfect versions of those because it's like all you
yeah.
need, right? Like, and to your point about the Reese's, the pumpkin is like the better version of that is actually the Christmas tree. The Reese's
Oh
Christmas
yeah,
was
for
right
sure. It gets better the closer to Christmas you get.
so that's why like the fun size Snickers is just
Yeah,
like perfect for Halloween. And like,
yeah,
if if I was a rich person and I lived in a house for one, I don't live in a house currently, but if I did and I had trick or treaters, I would try to be like the cool family who gave out the like king size Snickers, just
yeah,
because like I know what it's like to be a kid. I'm a giant kid at heart. I'm a
yeah,
huge silly goose. I gotta give it out to the people. You gotta get the people what they
yeah.
want, and they want a big Snickers.
There's a couple like houses in our neighborhood that gives out the king size stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you guys are out here rolling in dough or something. Like this is a very firm middle class, lower middle class neighborhood we're in here, and you guys are rocking with king size. Respect to you. It's cool when you get those. But I will say, dude, you do have a point though when you initially said like the little mini like snack size Snickers. It's like I don't know, those hit different compared to like the regular ones. I don't know what it is. Like the ratio is just right with those guys, but I still gotta go pumpkins. I'm terrible. My dad tax is out of control whenever Halloween comes around. I will be like, hey guys, let me just like sort your candy for you. It's okay. And they're like, where'd our Reese's go? And I'm like, they were bad. They got smushed. I don't even know. They probably didn't even give you any Reese's. These crazy people out here just not handing out Reese's. No, I'm not that bad, but it's tempting. It's tempting, and I do take some dad tax. If you're a dad and you don't take dad tax from the Halloween candy, either you're lying or you're like an absolute health nut. And I would encourage you to live a little and take some dad tax every once in a while. Live. But I'm excited for it. I'm pumped to take the boys around. Get some trick or treating in. Stay up too late. Get enormous amounts of candy that they won't inevitably eat because it's too much, and then I'm forced to take the waste not want not stance and finish it off. Sacrifices you got to make sometimes. It's hard life.
Gotta take one for the team.
I do that. I do that every day. So let's start talking about some Lexington Sporting Club news. We got some good stuff that have happened here recently. Let's start off with like the ladies. Last time we did the men's side, did USL one to start things off. I like to kind of be consistent and flip flop back and forth a little bit here. Before we get into the match, since we were last together, they had those kits on sale for breast cancer awareness that were game worn and signed, and they went insanely fast. I like checked the link, and half of them were gone already, and it was a blur. I would check again, and then there would be even more gone, and even more gone, and it was awesome because they're for a great cause. So much of the proceeds are going to an amazing cause. So you love to see them flying off the shelves like that. Well, theoretical shelves, but Dylan, you managed to get one. What one did you end up scoring, dude?
Yeah. So I ended up getting shins. Shins
Youngshin.
kit.
Okay. Nice. See, look at
Very
that.
nice.
Beautiful. I know plenty of people who managed to get one. I'm super jealous. I'm super jealous. I
I'm
wanted one
super
so
hyped.
bad.
Like I'm super hyped that we got one. My wife
Yeah.
and I, like definitely already set it up to be in a frame.
Yes.
So definitely gonna get it framed because it's gonna be signed. It's not actually signed right now. There was a
Yeah.
mistake, so I have to get it sent back and get it signed again. So if any player is listening to this podcast and you want to sign it too, please, that would be awesome. I would love
He's going
that.
for extra. This
Yeah,
guy.
please do.
Yeah, I heard about the little snafu with them being so excited to get him out. Some of them did get signed, but shout out to Leslie who works for the club. He's going to get everybody hooked up. I know he's going to get you hooked up with yours and get
Yeah.
that signature on there like what they wanted.
But I'm like super stoked to,
Yeah.
support the cause as well. Something near
Yes.
and dear to my heart. So, yeah, I'm also, or like, this is super awesome and I'm super pumped to have it. And
Yeah.
like, um, it was hard to pick like who I wanted
Yes.
to,
Oh,
because I got on and there was already like so many people, like I would say
yeah.
half taken. And ultimately I was like, someone who's been starting, I was
Yeah.
like, someone who has also impressed me too. I remember like, after the first few matches on one of our pods, I said that I was a fan of hers. So, I figured that would be the good choice, the smart choice
That's
to make.
solid.
Yeah.
I can't fault you at all, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you were playing around with a few different choices. You're like, oh
I
man.
know, I know.
It's too hard to pick though, because you're just like, I see why I would want any of these. I wanted one so bad, not only because it's LSC history, it's a one-off type of thing, but also for the cause. Breast cancer awareness is super important. I've had plenty of people in my family that have been affected by breast cancer, um, both survivors and people that weren't quite as fortunate. So I really wanted to do my part to support that. I got I got hit with bad timing though. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. We had double registration and taxes and licensing and all that stuff for the cars, and so um, any other month, I think that I could have swung it and it swooped in there and got it, but the timing was so bad. And money's not exactly flowing for school librarians right now. But I would have loved to have gotten a couple. I think I would have been torn anyway. They weren't even available whenever I looked, just because I looked a few times and I kept playing with like, can I manage? Can I drop this much money right now and still be okay with everything else? And just kind of flirted with the possibility. Um, and I was kind of going back and forth between a couple players. And I'm not really sure which one I would have chosen if they had been available and if I'd had the funds. Um, but I had almost gone for either Parsons or Moyer. I think I was going to have to go with one of those two. I love all of our players. We have amazing players. I don't think it's a secret though that I'm a big fan of both of them and their game and just kind of who they are and how they present themselves with the club. So those would have been my choices if I could have nabbed those. But man, regrets in a big way. But I'm glad you got yours, man. And I know you're gonna be psyched whenever it's signed and framed on your wall, all glorious, like that blank space behind you. It just
Yeah.
screams, "I need a pink kit."
It, it might fit. It
Yeah,
might fit.
yeah, for real. Um, let's jump into the women's match, right? In fact, I kind of talked about it on the quick kicks already, the first win in club history, but you didn't get a chance to say your piece. So let's go back there just for a second before we get into the most recent match. That game against Spokane,
Hmm.
like, how were you feeling going into that one?
So, like, I predict us to draw, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, just kind of going off of the previous result of that match. Um, I just thought we were kind of starting to build something, starting to
Yeah.
build a little bit of momentum, and I didn't want to like count my, you know, I like to think more like realistically and like set my goalposts, pretty close, and then like go through multiple, unlike you and Kyle, who were like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna win it." So like,
Yeah,
but
especially me. I'm bad about that.
listen, hear me out. I was pretty close. The game
You were.
ended with extra time
Yeah, it was
goal.
tight.
So I was almost like I feel a little vindicated in a way as well. But
Yeah, no, you're pragmatic, man. I don't blame you one bit, dude. You look at it through like what could most likely happen.
yeah,
I look at it as what do I want to will to happen?
yeah,
And I'm just like, I'm gonna just force this into the universe and it won't actually happen most times, but the times that it does, I can be like, see, I told you, and really I had no control over anything. I'm just sitting there just spouting out, win. We're gonna win. But it was a good game though.
yeah,
Like
absolutely.
it was. I already talked about it. It was a very good game, very entertaining. Even the commentators kept talking about how great of a game it was, which it was cool. Right? Not that they're the end all be all for whether or not a game is worth watching, but you don't always hear that from commentators being like, "Hey, this is a game that you need to tune into. Like
Yeah,
it's got some solid action." And for us, anybody that's been a fan of the USL one side for long enough knows away days kind of tend to be synonymous with painful experiences.
yeah,
We don't always get the results that we would like. We've had some shining moments, don't get me wrong, but away days tend to be a struggle, as it is for a lot of teams, right? You leave home, you go play somewhere else, let alone somewhere literally on the other side of the country where you're having to do all that travel and you're taxed from that. Coming away with a win after doing all that, it's pretty impressive.
yeah. It's a big achievement for sure.
Like it is, and historic. I think everybody was counting us out because of our run of form. Looking at where Spokane was, I kind of felt like they were a little vulnerable. They weren't necessarily just like out there being world beaters, but at the same time, I think a lot of people felt the same about us. Like Benji Wade, who does the Spokane soccer show, he covers their team, and I think that in his view, we were vulnerable, which rightly so. We had a pair of draws and otherwise a bunch of losses. So I can't really fault anybody for thinking, this might be a win for us, but our fight is just there, and then
Yeah,
it showed again this weekend. I don't know that anybody was really expecting for us to stay on the road and get another 3 points, right? So like now, I don't know, 3 point bearing results in a row. I'm calling that a streak. I'm saying we're on a streak now. Like maybe not.
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe that's not a streak, but I feel like that's pretty solid to have a draw against the top team in the league, like literally the top team, and then we get a win away, and then this game getting a win. Like Fort Lauderdale also is amongst the top, right? They have the fewest games played at the time of this match, and yet we're still in third place.
yeah.
Like even with 2 games less than everybody else or more.
And they've put up points on us before as well. Like McCain had a hat trick on us before, and she scored in this game as well.
Yeah.
She's definitely a tough opponent for sure. But they just play our team, the girls. They play really hard and really tough, and they don't stop playing, and they
Hmm.
play like systematically as a team. But they play pretty fluidly in terms of like where they go on the field, and it just works pretty well. And you know, I don't know if it's a testament to their skill or the testament to the chemistry that they have, because the chemistry that they have just like oozes on and off the field. Um, it's just like they're really fun to root for.
Yeah.
They look like they're having a lot of fun playing for the team and playing for each other. And I'm stoked, like
Yeah.
no doubt about it. Like it's very
Hmm.
fun right now, and getting these 2 wins on the road in a row is, I think, a huge achievement in our first year. And obviously, I can look at that like comparatively to what we're used to with the overarching club and the men's side with the USL. It took us a while to get an away win, and let alone 2 away wins. And now the women are doing that in such a fast, you know, marker, I guess.
Yeah.
So, like,
Quick succession.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think you and I and Kyle, we've been pretty positive about the team early on. And I think we're fans of Mike Dickey and what he's saying in the interviews. Like, I absolutely love what he's been saying
Yeah.
about his team. Um, like, uh, just big fan right now, and I can't wait to go to the next home game that I am available for.
Yeah. Yeah. Which feels like way too long. This
Yeah,
road stretch is killer. But I know that a lot of people were like saying stuff about our bad run of form, getting all those losses in a row. When you think about this team being so brand new, and we've said this before, so brand new, you're figuring it out. Everybody in the league is figuring each other out. You're kind of like, okay, what do we expect? How's everybody going to play? What's happening? Like, what's the level of play going to be? And then you stumble sometimes. I'd rather have all those stumbles at the beginning of the season, you know?
I agree.
And and so now we're starting to see that it wasn't like a fluke. We didn't get a fluke draw. We didn't get a fluke win. We got a draw, a win, another win. We're hoping for yet another win. And so if we can just keep building that momentum, all those learning experiences towards the beginning of the season where we saw, Mike Dickey and his staff kind of experimenting and then, trying people out in different positions, trying different starters out, this is where it starts paying off. You've even seen it with the lineups here lately. The lineups have become a little bit more settled. Of course, you have like a change or two here and there. And then sometimes, even if you're not changing starters, you have a difference in who's playing what position. And that's okay. And I think that that's part of playing a smart game, keeping your opponents guessing. But it's solidified enough. And, I said this early on, like somebody had asked about the women's team, like, what's it going to take? And I said, kind of like solidifying and finally defining what we are. And I think we're starting to see some definitive outlines of, okay, this is who we are. This is how we're going to play. These are kind of our reliable starters that we're going to put out most of the time. And it's paying off. It's paying dividends. And if we can keep this going, I don't see any reason why we can't prove people wrong that doubted this squad. There's plenty of people out there, people that are in the soccer community that, work for various outlets that have said, our squad is the weakest in the league or that we don't have very many notable names with a lot of experience. And, everybody's entitled to those predictions. We know sometimes those predictions are wrong. It's like the USO1 squad. Everybody said we were going to destroy everybody with ease. It didn't happen because at the end of the day, this sport is fickle. You never know what's going to go down once the season gets going. And I think we're seeing like a reverse of that for the women. It's starting to kind of blossom a little bit more. And we're seeing that tenacity and all of that drive and that chemistry paying off for us. And, this game that we just got done playing, I feel like there's still, of course, like a few things that could be smoother, but I think overall we're seeing a more refined product on the field. And, I really enjoy the connections that our players are making and how they're, evolving together, right? Their personalities on the pitch are not coming off as like, this is me as an individual and I don't really know where I fit in this process or in this system. It's like, this is me as an individual and here's how it works together with everybody else. And it seems like they really understand one another, even when they make changes. So for instance, in this past game against Fort Lauderdale, we saw Maddie Parsons become the pressing nine. She's been a lot in the midfield, a whole lot this season, which she's done phenomenal. She's been so good about creating chances. She's been helping with assists. In all the film I watched on her before the season got going, and I did the little write up on her for the player profiles. I watched a lot of film where she was that pressing nine, that nine that's going to go up there and be all up in the keeper's face, and she was ferocious when she did that. And so we see her back in that role, and then she gets a brace, and that's because she's so good about towing the line with the opponent's defense and breaking through that line with the ball in her possession. Because I mean, she's just a beast. I've said it before. She's so strong and so good about like anybody that comes around her. She's just like shrugging them off and be like, "No, this is gonna be my goal." And it was really really cool to see. I'm a big fan, and now she's emerged, as our leading goal scorer. She's got a couple of assists to her name as well. So she's really really making an impact for us. But it's not just been her. Like, who kind of stood out to you in that match?
I think Sarah Cox has been like
Mm-hmm.
one of the most impressive to me
Yeah.
lately. You know, just her saves have been incredible, and
Yes.
just her poise. To be able to like, you know, just keep her head on straight and make these constant saves and always be there when there's rebounds and everything. There's I think the goal that was let in on in the most recent game
Yeah.
like may have been like not really her fault. Like there was like a defender in the way. It looked like maybe
Yeah.
her vision was obscured.
Right.
Like it just seemed like an unfortunate circumstance. So like I've been really high on her.
Yeah.
Like she's been very, very impressive.
She is like the calmest keeper I think I've ever seen in my entire life
That's
too.
what I'm saying.
Like you're 100% on the mark with that, man, because I've never seen her frazzled. Even whenever something's gone poorly, like it's not like she's freaking out or like yelling at everybody. She gets up, recomposes herself, kind of has a chat with the team, and is back at it. Like straight ice in her veins. You know what I mean? You want, like, of course, passionate keepers that are really really vocal or really let things known what they need to be done are great, but those keepers that can keep completely poised under pressure, they're they're tough stuff. And Sarah Cox has been so good for us since she's appeared in the net. Like it's been great.
For sure. I think
Um,
Kaylee Utley also deserves a shout out
yeah,
too. I mean,
she was good.
she didn't start, but she, got subbed on and made a huge
Yeah.
impact. And like she even took some shots too. And like she's just always dangerous. And like
Yes.
if you put her on the field, she's going to make chances happen. And
Yes.
I appreciate that. Like
Hmm.
anyone who can like just instantly make an impact is like is awesome in my book. And I think she's super versatile too. Like we can see her on
Yes.
the left or right. And, like I think she's just very fantastic. And, you know, whether she is that super sub or whether she's a starter. I think,
Yeah.
either way. And, I guess we kind of have a squad where we do have people who could, maybe sit one day and then start the next day. And it just really depends on who's fit and maybe the matchup and everything. I mean,
Yeah.
we saw Allen in a different position than a previous game before. I've seen her on the left side. She was on the right the last match, and I think we just haven't unlocked her quite yet
Yeah.
because if she gets the ball, she's extremely dangerous. Like those one-on-one matchups, she
She's
has
good.
insane footwork,
Yeah.
but we just haven't found a connection with her yet. But if we
Yeah.
can get her a connection, I can't wait for her to she's gonna
It'll be
rip
good,
one.
man.
It's gonna be crazy.
It's true, dude. I agree with you, man. Those 1v1 situations, you can tell in games they start doubling up on her. It doesn't
Yes,
take long before they
for
start saying,
sure.
"Hey, two people go after her right now and shut it down," because one usually can't handle the challenge of her coming up there.
And
It's so cool.
maybe that's why she maybe had like a more of a muted
Yeah.
game because I did notice that as well. She was getting
Yes.
double teamed a ton. Anytime she had the ball, there was a person to her left and a person
Yep.
behind her. Like it was
Yep.
crazy. Yeah.
It's a challenge. And you're right about like Kaylee too, man. Like, you know what? If I could like insert a handshake emoji, we're putting Kaylee Utley handshake emoji, Nico Brown. Like the way that they both help on the defense and the offense. Like, a lot of you guys probably have noticed Nico helping defensively a lot here lately. Kaylee does a lot of that too. And she's so quick about getting upfield and helping create chances and opportunities for the team. I mean, it it's really good stuff. And the way she runs, it just kind of feels like all of a sudden she's all the way up the field before you realize it. And you're like, oh dang, like you get a little bit of a jump scare. You're like, how'd you get here? And it's cool to see. And this game, she had that great assist to Maddie Parsons, where she just like sends that long ball and it lands just in front of her and it lures the keeper out. And like I was screaming at the TV. I was just like, get around her, get around her. And of course she did, man. Like she made that keeper pay. And I love how like nonchalant Maddie looked too after she got around the keeper, just kind of like, man, I just smoked you and two defenders, and I'm about to score on this open net. I hope you know this. It had those vibes, and I was just like, yes, yes, because usually like not the women in particular, but LSC as a club, those are the types of goals that get scored on us because something just doesn't go right. It's not because anybody's playing poorly or anything. It's just like we always have like those random bad luck situations where like one of those goals where somebody's like, check this out on a highlight reel happens. And it was nice for us to be on the other side of that and be like, yes, so good. And even when you think about Utley, kind of going back to her being paired with Julie Mackin, who also came in late, the pair of them on that side, they were shutting everybody down. They were like so fast. They were so good about covering that side of the field. like they were just blurs everywhere in those chambers, right? and
Yeah.
and Mackin, did you? I'm assuming you
Yes.
saw and remember, right? You know what I'm going to talk about,
Yeah.
right? That insane goal line clearance
Yes.
where like
Absolutely insane. Her
yeah, Sarah
speed.
Cox gets
Her
caught out.
her
Oh
speed
man,
was incredible. The way she was
yes,
able to track the defender the whole time, but also just like keep in mind the ball and know
yes,
that if the person going for the ball is going to attack, where it's going to end up and where my body is going to be. Like
yes,
insane intelligence on the play.
yeah.
It was incredible. Like I don't know, like does that top a goal in like top plays of the match? You
When
know?
we're talking about like defender, that's it. That's like
Yeah.
that's your pinnacle. Like if you can do one of those, like
Fox
is it?
had a goal line clearance last
Yes,
season, right? It was on
he's had a
ESPN top
couple, man. Oh
on
yeah, you talking about that one?
yeah on ESPN's top 10. So yeah,
Ooh, we need to start doing that. We need to start flooding them with that and tell them they need to put that on there, dude.
yeah,
That
we
has to be
should.
on there because, like, I don't think people appreciate how like fast Julie Mackin is because she's not gotten a whole lot of playing time. But I even heard before this where she played with Greenville Liberty, everybody was talking about how quick she was, and like just again another one of those players too, for how much she's like hustling and just like going full force. She looks so just collected, just
Yeah, when she was
like
done that run, she
business.
was like steel, like ice
Yes.
cold, and I was like, "What?"
Yes. Even whenever she makes like the block, it was kind of like it also had like some of our other players doing this. This like air of nonchalance, like, yeah, I just did that.
Yeah.
It was always gonna get blocked by me. What? It was a phenomenal defensive play. Like, oh my gosh. That saved us. I mean, you really think about it, Sarah Cox saved us a lot of times. She had a great game. She had
Mhm.
a lot of really great saves, a couple point blank shot saves, in fact. But you also have to put Julie Mackin in there for saving our game too.
For
'Cause she
sure.
doesn't make that run, that's an open net, then we don't get that win.
Yeah.
So that was a clutch play. And then I thought Shay Warrior had an insane game too. She was all over the place. She was taking some far shots. She was feeding the ball to the people that needed it, helping get it up to Maddie Parsons, who was of course playing that that pressing nine, and had that dime to Parsons like lands directly at her feet. And then Parsons with that insane finesse goal where she's like holding up the ball, has her back to goal.
That was
Another
an
defender
insane
comes in
goal.
and just like a nice little touch to kind of get some space and just whip it around both defenders and into the side of the goal, dude. Like that was nasty.
Yeah. The
Like,
the way she bent that in was incredible. Like
yes,
like that should definitely be nominated for one of the top goals of the week by, USL. I know
yes,
Cameron's is up for a vote,
yeah,
for League One. I mean,
yeah.
I don't see why wouldn't that goal be nominated as
It
well.
it was beautiful, man. You talk about like skill and finesse. It was everywhere on that goal. It's,
I I think that's definitely going to be one that we like come back to at the end of the
yeah.
season and be like, oh yeah, this is one of the best goals we've seen all year.
Mhm. Yeah, it truly was, man. Like it was well earned and then some. And I really like that setup. I like Parsons in midfield, but I'll say it again. I really like her pressing. I like her being up top and being that nine that scares the defense. And they're like, we cannot leave her side because the moment she gets any bit of room and the ball's coming her way, she's off, and our goalkeeper is doomed because that's just how it's going to be. That's a fact. And I thought it was a phenomenal game, and I think considering our next opponent, we're going up against DC, and DC currently sits, I believe, one place lower than us. Let me double check. Yeah, one place by a point, but they have one more game they've played. We've only played 8. They played 9, and they're sitting 1 point below us. Um, and they got a win, 4 draws, and 4 losses. They've only scored 4 goals total. Although they had the same goal differential as us, because despite us scoring 12, we've also let in 18. That's slowed down a lot here lately, though. It's
Yeah.
not, it's not as ferocious because you really think a lot of our goals came off of like that Dallas match that were
Hmm.
scored against us. So that's really, we pumped the brakes on that a lot. So when we're thinking about attacking power, I think that we've got them beat, but they have shown to be able to squeak out some draws. The only other team that's managed 4 draws has been Carolina. So I think that they're a team that, if anything, they're going to play to try and get us to a stalemate. Um, if they can't get the win, that's kind of like their default, which it should be for everybody. But I just think they're particularly good at that. Um, but if we're clicking like we have been, I don't know if they stand a chance. I think this is a good possibility for another win.
It could be one of those, another game where we win at the end.
Yeah.
It could be the other team is fighting for a draw, and then Maddie,
Yeah.
with Maddie P with a
Hmm.
set piece or a corner.
Yeah.
Like anything could happen. In those late minutes. So
It's true. Yeah. I just don't. I could be wrong. I'm not trying to jinx this. I just don't think they have the firepower to get past Sarah Cox the way she's been playing.
for
If you
sure,
only scored 4 goals out of 9 matches, I think we're in good enough form that we can probably make it happen. And with our attacking unit looking like they have the last few games, it's a thing that's within the realm of possibility in my mind for sure. So I'm psyched. I'm psyched for this next match. I think that the women's team is really firing up and proving that they can get back to like that exciting team that we saw in the very first game. Because I think that very first game ever, everybody was like so amped up because we're like, oh my gosh, look how hard we're playing and look how much we got the other team on the ropes. And we're seeing that starting to happen again. It's starting to reappear. Um, I think, yeah, I think good vibes are what I'm feeling going forward.
me
So,
too.
um, just everybody keep watching. I know it's a bummer that we can't see this in person. I'd love to see these types of exciting matches in person, but that's just how the schedule works out. And they'll be back home before too long. We just got to get through this little stretch and we can cheer them on with some cooler weather. That way we're not all out there like sweating in the heat and everything,
Yeah,
kind of chill in our hoodies and enjoy these wins. But it'll happen. Let's switch. Let's pivot. We talked about our Super League side. Let's talk about our last ever home match for the men's side. Final one. This is it. We just have one
for
more
the
game
for the season, you
for
mean?
this. Well, for USL one,
Yeah,
there you go. There's your
yeah,
finality. Yeah,
yeah.
but for real, it's weird. It's always weird when this happens. You know what I mean? If you were a fan and you watched last year, you probably felt a certain type of way with the last home match. It definitely is kind of surreal. It feels like such a long season, but at the same time a short season. And then you get to the end of it, and you realize you only have one more game, and it's not even a game you get to see in person, and you're like, oh man, what the heck? Like we've kind of finished this off, and then you start wondering like who's going to be back next year? Like who we're going to see? Is this the last time I get to see you in person playing on this field? And you get all those little like frantic questions and stuff. And for me, I always have to pump the brakes. I'm like, the season's not done yet. Just take a deep breath. We still have a game to play, and it's kind of a big deal one. But let's talk about this Charlotte match for just a second before we talk about implications for the coming matches. I felt, and I don't know if you felt this way, because we didn't do predictions for this one because I was so busy. I didn't have time to do all the posting that I like to do. But I felt like it was plausible we could get a win at home against a Charlotte team that had not won in, what was it, 6 games? Is that right, Dylan?
Yeah.
Winless in 6? Yeah.
Hmm.
So definitely plausible. We've gotten some points off of them in the past, right? It's not always been like a big struggle to go up against them, even when they've been in form. Um, this one, like, it was a weird roller coaster for me. I tried to ignore all the other results in the league for the night. I was trying not to check my phone because, of course, we needed a lot of dominoes to fall for us to make it into the playoffs, or at least keep our chance at the playoffs alive, I should say. So I was trying not to let that hamper my emotions in regards to like what was actually occurring on the field. Definitely wanted to win no matter what, though, because you always want to go out on a positive note, always. Um, for me, the roller coaster emotion situation comes in when it feels like we might win, then it feels like we might lose for a whole lot of that game. And then when we actually manage to draw and come away with a point, like I think that everybody was just so relieved that we weren't going to lose that they lost their minds. Like that
Yeah.
final goal being scored, everybody was screaming their heads off. And I don't even know if it was just because of the relief of we're not going to lose this match. Oh, thank God. I think it was also because Charlotte, I'll just say it. A lot of them were being chumps throughout the game. Like they were being chumps. I
They
did
were.
not like it. It was like the second goal they scored, and if you were at the match, you probably noticed this. They came to the corner flag and they just start staring down all the fans in the stands and just stood there for like at least 3 minutes, and they're just like staring at all the fans, kind of like being like, "Look what we did." You know what I mean? And it just got under my skin. And of course, they were being chippy the whole time. Austin Pack was doing his little thing where he likes to, get all, "Well, I'm going to do this petty stuff." Like he did some petty stuff. And he should have had a red card. He
Yeah.
should have had a red
He really
card.
should have.
Like that stunt he pulled where he like picks up the ball and then moves it and gets his
Moves it.
yellow. And then the ref is like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And then kicks it off to the sidelines.
Yeah, that should have been a
Like,
red.
there, there's no
Or
way that he
or a
doesn't get a
second
second
yellow. He
yellow.
should have
That's what
been.
I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how is that not a second yellow that somebody does something that petty? I know
Yeah.
if I was a ref, I would have been like, "Dude, your night's over, man. Like, you're gonna do something
Also,
like that."
way earlier in the game,
Yeah.
Artez was going, and there should have been a red for denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity. Like textbook red card. Artez was pulled down by one of their defenders after he like was making a breakaway run, and that should have
Hmm.
been a red card. Like there was just so many missed cards on their, you know, ticky tacky,
Yeah.
horse hockey stuff.
You know what it was? They saw like that highlight from that goal that Ates scored all by himself
Yeah,
in that last game, and they were like, "I don't want this to happen again." So they just
yeah.
went for it. And gosh, like the amount of complaining I heard from their players, oh my gosh, like their whole back line every 5 seconds was chirping at the lino, being like, "Oh, if you could get your calls together." And I'm like, "Dude, get your team together. Like, it's not his fault that you guys can't stop like half of these runs. Like, figure yourself out." It was, I don't know. I think the fans that could hear all that stuff and witness that stuff, I think that gave everybody extra motivation. I mean, I know like everybody around me was particularly screaming at Austin Pack when we scored that second goal, making fun of him. And I'll say probably one of the highlights of the night is I'm going down for the interviews and I have to go through the tunnel to do it. So I get to the tunnel area and there were like three dudes, maybe like 18 to 20. And Austin Pack comes walking through the tunnel by himself and they heckled the hell out of that man. And they were cracking up about it because he just put his head down and kept walking. And they were like high fiving and hugging afterwards. And I was like, "You guys are my heroes. Thank you." Like, you told him what's up because he was playing dirty and I just did not care for like the way he conducted himself. Like, so come on, man, get it together. But anyway, sorry, I think I've found our new villain. Well, short-lived villain.
So long.
Goodbye, Austin Pack. But yeah, dude, it was kind of wild, man. I don't know. Like, did you kind of feel the same? Like, was it like just the relief of getting that second goal, or were you still kind of disappointed that we couldn't pull off that win?
I was disappointed that we couldn't pull off the win because, it just felt like, oh, we go up a lead and then we forego the lead. It just felt like every, game seen the song and dance before.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what it felt like to me. But going into the match, I had like when we did our predictions for like, each game, like end of the
Oh
season
yeah,
and
yeah.
how many points, I predicted us to draw. So so I got that
Had
right.
it.
And I kind of thought that, that this would happen, that, we would get a boost from playing at home, but, we would, maybe go up a lead and then forego that lead, just, how we
Yeah,
do.
right.
And, there's plenty of things that, we can talk about. Like if Cerritos is so dynamic, why isn't he starting? He was
Hmm.
very dynamic,
Yeah,
mid-season. He had a really great mid-season form, and
he
now
did.
he comes on and makes an instant impact. So like I don't know. Like I don't make the decisions, but
Yeah,
like it,
yeah.
it is what it is. Like I was disappointed, and in the in the post game interviews that you did, Coach Powell was like, sometimes that there's a draw that feels like a win and a draw that feels like a loss. And today I feel like this was a draw that feels like a win. I disagree considering the circumstances. It's a draw that feels like a loss because we could have had the win. We
Yeah.
were winning and we could
Yeah.
have just like held that. So I
Yeah.
I disagree with his statement.
Yeah. I think maybe he was like vibing with like the fans' reaction to the second goal.
Yeah,
But again, I don't think it was like the same as during like the regular season. You're playing a super tough opponent, you're the underdog, and a draw is like, man, we did that against a super tough opponent. Like, you know what I mean? Like going
yeah,
up against like Omaha or something, and it's the 10th game of the season, and we get a
yeah,
draw after they've been hammering other teams. Like, sure, then you could say, yeah, that felt like a win. I think the fan reaction was misread, maybe, because that was, in my opinion, and I could be wrong because I'm not every fan, I'm me, but I felt like it was more of like, again, relief that we didn't lose.
sweet release. Yeah,
Yeah, it was just like, oh my gosh, they were like being such chumps about things, and they were gonna brag in our face, and we still managed to do this. You know what I mean? Because I think everybody in their mind, they're going back to like when Knox beat us for our first home match, and then they start bragging and chanting down the halls, and you can hear them from the tunnel mocking us, and everybody's replaying that in their head with Charlotte. And I think so. It was more relief than anything, if I had to guess, from the fans than being like, "We did it, guys." But again, I could be wrong. Other people might feel differently than me. I know that's where more my head was at. It was just like, "Oh, thank God we didn't lose."
yeah.
So,
No, I definitely like in the moment. I'm very thankful we didn't lose. Like
yeah.
I didn't want to lose for sure.
No. Yeah.
I was very thankful we didn't lose. I'm just
Yes.
like overall like
Yes.
when the dust settles,
No. Yeah.
I'm
I
like
agree
yeah,
with you, man.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying. I think that maybe it was just maybe a misread by Coach Palace, like the
yeah,
fan reaction, what it actually was. And again, it could be wrong, but you know, it is what it is. And then we tend to have these situations, right? And then this has kind of just been the story of our season, and especially to lose it after we see like that worthy of a goal from Cam Lancaster off that free
yeah,
kick. Man, he whipped that thing hose right in. It was such a good goal. It's so impressive, and that gets you amped as a fan. You know, Cerritos, man, it was a really great look from Caputo to look back and notice him making that run into the box and then send it up his way, and then he just hammers it in, no hesitation whatsoever, and gets that in there. And I will say a lot of our players were doing great about at least just firing off shots. Like they were trying, they were going for goal. There was even one from Kennedy at one point, and I had like a perfect view of it. That one where he like whips it and it curves just a little too much. And if it hadn't, man, he would have had Pack beat. And so I'll give him props on that. And I do think overall the guys played hard. We just had a couple sloppy moments, right? That end up getting goals scored on us. And that's again kind of our story. We have these like lapses all of a sudden, and you're like, wait a second, what just happened? We were doing okay, and now we're not. And um, I don't know. Again, it's just the story of our season. And I think you even see that with things like, talking about the interview with Cam Lancaster, you could definitely feel the frustration on his end, and I
yeah,
can't blame him. You want your players to not feel bad about games, but you do want them to feel something. And if, you're thinking we could have had something out of this game, and this is yet another one that we maybe just missed the mark a little bit, in some ways it's respectable to see that type of frustration and be like, okay, you cared a lot about this going the right way and it didn't. And you're not just going to say, well, shucks, there's always next year, because for a lot of guys there's not always next year. You never know, right? It's just like last year we had no idea who's going to be around to say there's always next year, and you never know what you're going to get and where we're going to go, especially moving up a league. It's going to be a whole different world. We're going to have so many more teams that we're competing against. We're going to have divisions now. Talent level is a little bit different. um, it's tough, and I will say I still had an amazing time at the last game. I feel like there were so many fans there. I actually didn't expect there to be that many, because you never know. And I know we've had a few games where it's kind of ebbed and flowed, and with being cooler weather and all that, I was like, maybe, maybe good attendance, maybe it won't. Um, But I was impressed with how many people showed out. You know, it was really cool. I had a few coworkers say that they were going to come out, which they had never been to a game. But they stumbled across the interview I did with the club, and then they were like, "We saw that. We didn't realize that there was a club, but you posted it, and now we know about it, and we're going to go." And that was really neat to know that they were going to show up and have that first experience. So even though it didn't go the right way, I feel like the vibe in general was right from the fan base, at least, to try and hopefully make people feel like this is a cool thing to come do. So um yeah, if anything, also I might have had rose colored glasses because I have my whole family with me. And so I was sitting there holding my balloon animals and cheering them on with my horse hat that I stole from my son. So you make the best of these things. But Chattanooga's up next. We've beaten them. They're vulnerable. They're another team that's right there with us. What are you thinking, Dylan? Are we pushing them below the table to avoid the wooden spoon?
Um, I mean, I don't think Chattanooga is the like a world beater, or
Right,
anything.
right.
They're not setting the world on fire. So I think that it's a winnable game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we've played well against them previously. Um, they're the team with the really bad field though, right?
It's terrible.
It's really bad. So I
It's so
worry
bad.
I worry about that as a factor,
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
them. But, I think I've already predicted us to lose, but we have a lot to play for still.
yeah,
And it feels, isn't it crazy? I feel like we've said that about every stinking match this season. It seems
because it's been true.
like we have so much to play for still. We just
Yeah,
don't want to end up in last place.
yeah,
At least hang our hats on that going into the Super League, or not the Super League, but the championship.
right.
Um, so I think we can do it. I just don't know if we will.
Yeah, I think it's definitely doable, and I'm with you. It's a small consolation prize, but I don't want to be in last because for those that aren't perpetually online, like myself, um, there are a whole lot of fans of other teams that want us to come into last just for the laughs. Like they are actively waiting to memify the heck out of us if we come in last, get the wooden spoon, and then go up to the championship. So I'd like to ruin a lot of their days just by simply not coming in last. Of course, then they'll move the goalpost and be like, yeah, but you were still only 11th or you were still only 10th or you know what I mean? It'll just always move. But no wooden spoon is my goal. And you look at this stuff, and we could leapfrog any of the teams all the way up through ninth. Like if everything goes our way, like you say, Georgia loses, Chattanooga loses, Central Valley loses. All of a sudden, we're in ninth place to finish the season. If
Yeah,
we win that, right, which is kind of crazy to think. Just as easily, we could lose, and everybody else gains a point, or just stays where they are. Honestly, and we're still in last place. So a lot of different variables are at play here to determine whether we end up in ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th. Um, I don't know. I feel like we got this though. I feel like we got this. I feel like getting officially knocked out of the playoffs is going to light a fire under some people. And I know everybody's like, light a fire. We should have had that fire the whole time. Yes, 100%. We should have fire the whole time. And we did. Maybe it just wasn't hot enough. Maybe it didn't burn bright enough. Um, but I think some people are aware that like we can't come in last. Like if anything else, that's the bare minimum that we can ask of them is to just not let us be 12. Um, just please. So I think Chattanooga is a winnable game, though. I even with that horrendous field, even with people that they have that do tend to score on the regular and are dangerous. I'm not counting us out on this one. Um, I we'll see. I may or may not be able to watch because I've got my buddy's bachelor party, which is nothing crazy. Like we're literally probably just gonna meet up and play video games and stuff. But I don't know how much I'll be watching on my phone versus sitting there, competing against them in that. But I do plan to watch at some point during that night. So um, either way, I'm going to be cheering them on and hoping we can seal the deal for this, because it's important. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. You want to get into a few questions?
Let's do it.
Let's do a few questions. Okay, let's do that. All right. So let me hit you with this first one. So we got asked, should Isaac be signed on for next year?
Um, I mean, if it were up to me, I would say yeah.
Yeah.
I really like him. I like what we've seen so far from him. I don't think we've seen enough of him at all, really. Like, I feel like we've barely seen him, and I would
Yeah.
like to see him a lot more. I think
Yeah.
he's really talented, and I like that he's a homegrown kid as well. Obviously, he's not part of our roster ultimately, but it's still nice that he's from around here. And I really hope to see him. It was nice to see him get in the game on Saturday. But yeah, I mean, if it were up to me, yeah, I would say totally bring him
Yeah.
back.
As a fellow Dunbar alum, I'm gonna say for sure. Always got to go back to that. But for real, I do feel like he showed a lot of capability to compete. I feel like he did really great whenever he was out there. We didn't use him a whole lot, but when we did, I feel like he earned his spot to be out there, earned his spot to be in the conversation, to be out on that field. And I would love for us to not just have to hand him back over to Lou City, and say your loan's over. Bye. I think it would be great to keep a young player like that that's going to grow and develop and hopefully help us achieve our goals. Because you can always get these veteran players in here and hope that you're going to get things done, but you also need a healthy mix of those young players too that are going to help propel you forward, that have that youthfulness, that desire, that ability to compete, and not suffer maybe some of the same faults as somebody that's going towards the end of their career, right? So I think it's always good to have youth to balance experience, and hopefully be like your next generation of player that's going to really help propel you. So I'd say yeah, for sure. Um, we got another one that's asking us. Well, first they say great last game from the boys in League One. What is your favorite USL1 memory?
Um, I mean, it's hard to nail down like any specific memory because it's like, you know, I spend a lot of these games going with my wife, and that's always nice to spend time with her.
Yeah,
Um, but like if I'm thinking like one specific moment, it it has to be the NoCo win away. I was at that game. I've said it many times on the pod. It was just really awesome to see us get that win in those circumstances. It was away. We were down. Tez was just on fire, and just the vibes were really fun. Me and my friend and the Jackson family were going nuts, and we were cheering loud and being being menaces to the the home crowd of NoCo, and
yeah.
it was just really fun. And then like after the match, Stocks came over to us and he was like, "We could hear you guys all night. Thank you so much." And like that was just awesome, to hear as well. So that
That's
has to
so
be mine.
Yeah, you're right, man. I think of like 40 different things and I'm like, oh man, I could say that one. I could say that one. I could say that one. And like my family, especially my wife, we've gone to every game together, minus a couple where she couldn't make it. And those have all been special to me. And I've probably mentioned this multiple times on the pod, but it always has to be that win against Charlotte last season, that dramatic one, right? Where like we have the rain delay, Fox had the red card, we come back from the rain delay. Knight has to save that PK, and he does, and we seal the deal. That was wild. That was just a wild game, and it was memorable, and the vibes were so high, even with so many people that had left because of the weather. The amount of people that were left over, you would not have thought could be that incredibly loud. after we sealed that match, and they were, and uh, it was such a good time, and it just was such good vibes, and it was one of those matches where you feel like, you believe hard enough and it happens, because that's all you could do in those situations, right? You sit there and you're like, oh my gosh, we got a red card. Now there's like a PK, and it's the very end of the game. They score this, it's over for us, and it doesn't happen. It feels like one of those 90s sports movies, right? Where
Yeah.
you're just like, we did it. And then everybody's running around like high fiving, and then it, cuts to credits.
The
I
golden
love that
retriever
one.
makes the save.
Golden
Yeah.
Retriever, Airbud comes in and helps them all out and covers the other part of the net, and seals it up for us. Yeah, I think that's mine though. I think that's it. Um, Another question we had. This isn't our last one, but this is a hard one. I think we've already addressed this one though, so I'm not trying to shortchange the person who asked it, but I think that even one episode I kind of went on like a little bit of a tangent for a while, and you're like, "Great monologue, Tyler," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that was a long monologue." But somebody asked, with us going up next year, is it time for a coaching change? Um, Dylan.
Yes.
Okay. We're not going to drag this one out. I've always said it before. I don't wish ill on anybody, and I think everybody, with the right opportunity, can be successful. But I also feel like our struggles this year require some sort of reevaluation. Okay, good.
I think
Sorry.
that will suffice.
Yeah, go back like 2 episodes ago, and you'll hear like the long extended version of those things. I think. I think it's like two, maybe three. Um, okay, and then the last question, and then we'll get into you got a game for us.
I
But
do.
the last question that we had, let me find it here. I lost it for a second. This one is from Kyle. Kyle
Oh
sent us a
no.
question. Kyle said, who would you say plays Robin to Kyle's Batman on the show?
Oh my
First off,
god.
I got to address the fact that Kyle is not nearly broody enough to be Batman. And he might be rich enough to be Batman, but he's not broody enough to be Batman. So, we've got to clear that up right off the bat. But, yeah, I don't know who is it?
I mean, who's the third one then? Like, are they Alfred or
Ooh,
are they Nightwing or like
Nightwing.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I really like Nightwing. He was always like really cool to
So
me.
you're saying
So
you're Nightwing?
yeah, I'll be Dick Grayson. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Um, I'll be Alfred.
All right, sounds good to me.
You don't get a Robin, Kyle. How about that? I'll just walk around in your bat cave, and I use all your cool gadgets while you're gone and stuff. Watch your giant screen TV that you use to monitor crime. Instead, I watch like all the soccer all at once, like 40
NFL Sunday
games.
Ticket.
NFL Sunday Ticket too. So, but you didn't know that. Take all your cool vehicles for a spin. So those are all the questions we got. Let's finish with a fun little game. So, Dylan, tell us about it. What are we doing?
Okay, so this is um, heavily inspired by the new FIFA Rush mode. So we're gonna do it. This is my little version. We're gonna combine LSC, both the Super League and the USL League One
Okay.
squads, right? And it is 5v5, four outfield players, one goalkeeper. You have to pick two men, two women, and I guess let's say you can't do back to back. You can't be like two men and then two women in a row.
So
So
alternating,
yeah, and then we're
and
gonna
then one's
draft.
a wild card.
Yeah, and then we're gonna draft.
Okay.
So if I pick someone, you can't pick them.
Okay.
And then, do we want to do snake? Do we want to snake it? You pick two.
Mm,
Like if I go
let's
first,
just
then you
do
pick two in a
1-1.
row. 1-1.
Now let's
Okay.
just do 1-1. Yeah, let's keep
Okay.
going back and forth. Let's do
And
that.
then I think what we will do is we will post these afterwards, and then everyone listening can decide who they think
Whose
is
team
the
would
better
win?
team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I like this. All right, you want to go first since it's your inception, it's your idea that you came up with, or you stole from
Um.
EAFC, whatever.
Oh man, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on me to go first because it's my game.
It's a lot of
So
pressure.
I think I'm gonna go left field for you and go Amal first.
Ooh, Okay. All right. Well, that helps me out with my next pick because I know you can't choose
Okay.
the goalkeeper from now on. So at least I have that. Okay. Ooh, this is a lot of pressure here. It's a lot of pressure. Nico.
Okay.
All right, go for it.
So I have to pick a Super League player. I'm picking Matty Parsons.
Shea Moyer.
Oh my god, I have two in my head. It's Sophie's choice. Oh my god. I gotta go Altez. I gotta go Altez.
Okay. Well then, let's see. Okay, so I got to do a USL one now, right? Let's
Mm-hmm.
go, Cam Lancaster.
Okay. Um. Uh. Sydney Shepard.
Okay, okay,
You
okay. So let's see. I got Super League coming up next. Let's see, Matty Perez.
need a keeper. Don't forget.
I know that's my last
Okay.
pick. You already
Okay.
picked a keeper. I'm
Okay.
taking my outfield. I see what you're
Okay.
doing here, Dylan.
I'm just making sure.
Trying to get me to take. Yeah, I see.
Okay. So then I pick one more. Right. This is
Yeah,
my
and that's a
last pick.
wild card. I think you can choose right USL one or Super League
No, I think I already.
since it's
Yes.
odd. Let's just do that. Let's make
No,
the
no,
fifth
no.
one open.
This is my fifth pick, so it doesn't matter already. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yannick.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
then there we go. I'm gonna go without a keeper. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna go with Sarah Cox. No keeper. We don't need anybody. No. Yeah. Sarah Cox will be my fifth. She's my keeper.
All right. Cool.
Okay. We got it.
Yeah. This is
Okay.
good.
All right. Ooh, this is an interesting. Jeez. Okay. Yeah, that was hard though.
Yeah.
That was really, really tough because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, okay, wait a second, because 5v5, it's a whole nother world, man.
Mm-hmm.
And you start thinking, like, okay, what do I need for that?
Man,
Jeez.
I think like I even like picked my team to work well together. That's what
Yeah.
I was going for.
Yeah.
I think Yannick is someone who could really deliver the ball, and Artes can score anywhere. And then Maddie Parsons is just shown that she can score anyway. If she's
Yeah.
part of the midfield or if she is a nine, and
Yeah.
we saw her be able to bend that ball, and then add in Sydney Shepard for those headers, so Yana can deliver those crosses in, and then
Yeah.
I have a maul in goal, so I'm not going to get scored on. So
I mean, you can say the same thing for Sarah Cox, man.
fair enough,
And
fair enough.
and you look at I've got my crew. We got Nico, we've got Shay, we got Maddie Perez. Imagine them all feeding the ball to Cam Lancaster.
It's true.
I'm just, and let alone they can score too. Shea Moyer takes shots from like 80 yards out, sends rockets in, and people don't even realize it. You know what I mean? It's homing missile out of nowhere. And then Nico, he scores all the time too, man. It's a lock. It's a lock. We're beating you. I'm just,
No
I'm just
way.
gonna tell you right now, it's done deal. Sorry. Sorry. No, that was fun, man. I like that. That was good. That made me think a little bit, dude. That's a. You know how
when
indecisive I am anyway.
when all our other podcast friends take this idea from us, they need to credit us. So
Yeah, that's right. TLP Pod, River City, and whatever. All everybody else. No, but that's a fun one. Okay, I now I'm anxious. I need to know what everybody thinks he's gonna win.
no,
We'll have to
no,
whip that up and then put that out there one day soon. Get everybody a chance to listen, and then
for
we'll
sure.
post it one day here real soon, and then see what goes down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling confident.
I
Yeah.
feel I feel very good about mine. I feel
Do
very
you?
good. Yeah,
Well,
I
you
do. I
should.
feel
You
really
should
good.
because they're all great players. So maybe I'm not that confident. Maybe it will be a hard matchup. You know what? Maybe we'll draw, Dylan.
Maybe.
Maybe. Nice, nice. All right. Well, hey, that was a fun way to end this one.
It
You
was.
know, I like that. Everybody listening, we've got one more game for the season. It's away. Make sure you tune in though. Watch if you can. Like I said, I'm gonna be sneaking it on my phone while I'm hanging out with my buddies and stuff. Watch, support. I know it's been a tough season for USO one. It's not been the season that we assumed it would be. I'm sure that many of our players, staff feel the same way. Nobody ever goes into a season being like, "Gee, howdy! I can't wait to see if we have to take the wooden spoon with us." Um, they want this bad too. And I think that a lot of players that have spoken to us behind the scenes or reached out to maybe some of you guys have expressed those sentiments, and it just shows it's tough. It's tough to sit there and go out and win every single game. We've talked about this before too. If the Jaeger Cup wasn't a whole separate thing and maybe we played the same amount of matches as last year and it was all one competition, who knows where we'd be. Might not be quite the situation, but you can't coulda, woulda, shoulda this stuff. There's still a game to go. We got to make sure that we support the guys. We will be doing end of season accolades too, like we did last year. If you haven't listened since last year, maybe you don't know. On Instagram, you can see them all listed out. You have to scroll a little bit, but we did several votes for different accolades for the players for the USL One squad. We'll put something out for you guys to vote for the different categories at some point here soon, and then somewhere very soon we will also reveal those to you guys and celebrate those players based on your votes and who you feel should win each of those different things. Shout out to Nico Brown. He won the Golden Horseshoe from the Railbirds. That's their award that they give out. You guys hopefully voted in it or had the opportunity to. Nico won. Apparently, Amal was number 2 in the list. That's no surprise. Like when you're thinking 1 and 2, I don't know who was past that. There are other candidates that I could think of too that should be in the running. But congrats to Nico. I know that's I feel like that's a pretty big honor. You know what I mean? As a player, if I was playing on a professional team and the fans were like, "You're kind of like the heart and soul. You're kind of who represents our club and who we think of as like the representative." It's pretty meaningful stuff. So, yeah, huge congrats to him for being that type of person that would make people feel like you deserve their vote. So that's cool stuff. But we'll have ours here soon. We'll get that out there. We also have Super League action again away, so make sure you watch. Right, so you have to do some multi-screening. Check out both matches, cheer them on. Hopefully, we can keep that streak running. Oh man, I'd be over the moon. I'd be over the moon if we could do another win in a row. That would be so cool. Even a draw, points. I'll take points.
Yeah.
As long as we play cool
points
and
away.
exciting.
Points away. I'm
Oh,
always cool with it, as long as you
100%.
take points away. That's fantastic.
Yes. Yeah. 100% agree. You can't be mad at any time you earn points away from home. Like that's always a win, even when it's not a win, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. We got some player of the matches hitting you guys' way. Maybe by the time you're listening to this, they'll be released, or maybe just before. You know what it is, guys. Until next time, come on, you Greens.